Welcome to Alaska EdVenture, hosted by Dr. Meinert, Superintendent of the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District. This award-winning podcast is your gateway to the heart of Alaska's educational landscape. In each episode, we'll explore the unique perspectives of guests who are shaping education in the last frontier. Join us on Alaska EdVenture as we share the insights and inspirations found in Alaska's K-12 classrooms.
Welcome back to the Alaska EdVenture podcast. I'm Dr. Luke Meinert, Superintendent of the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District. And today we are going to talk about capital improvement projects and the process that our district and our borough goes through in terms of meeting our capital needs here in the district. And I have three amazing guests with me today, and I'd love for them to introduce themselves. So Jay, why don't we start with you?
I'm Jay Carreon, and I'm the Executive Director for the Facilities Department for the school district.
I'm Clay Anderson. I'm the Construction and Projects Manager for the school district.
All right.
Yeah, my name's David Bredlie. I'm the Director of Public Works for the borough.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being willing to have the conversation today. Capital improvements is one of the things recently the school district has gotten a lot of questions about. When we say capital improvements, people are like, what does that mean? So when we say capital improvements and capital improvement projects, what do we mean by that?
So capital improvement planning is really a long-term sustainable plan that we provide for the school district. So we have a long-range plan of 20 years, and we also have the short-range plan of 6 years. So we take the 6-year plan out of the 20-year, and then that usually gets signed by the borough. So we've got two processes here. We've got the state capital planning, and then we also have the borough capital planning. So basically, capital projects are just, us planning a long range of projects that we need to be doing over the next 20 years.
Yeah, material things don't last forever, of course, and so you have to plan. It's a common sense thing to plan for their replacement, and so that's where our capital improvement plan is. With preventative maintenance, we have a good preventative maintenance program. You can get things to last for a really long time, but still, it's a good practice to plan to replace things.
Yeah.
As far as state capital improvement project applications. There's 54 school districts in the state of Alaska, and they're all applying for the same funding every year, and so that money the funding can get spread kind of thin, and so we do turn to the borough for capital improvement projects, and we've had a lot of great projects over the last few decades for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the things a lot of people don't understand is here in Fairbanks and in boroughs and municipalities across Alaska, the boroughs actually own the buildings that the schools operate in. And so, David, would you be willing to speak to that in terms of how that works between the borough and the school district, and what kind of square footage does the borough kind of manage in terms of capital?
Oh, gosh, I don't have those numbers.
Okay.
The school district is the large share of the square footage for sure. But then obviously the borough also has, the pools and the parks, the facilities. So I don't have those numbers.
Okay. Yeah. And we wanted to talk about there's a KIP process or a capital improvement project process within the borough. Very cool that David's been around since the start of this new process for the borough. And so could you tell us a little bit about the history in terms of how the borough managed capital in the past and how it's changed and improved into the process that we have today? Yeah,
sure. So the old program, I'd say it wasn't necessarily super well structured. It is a requirement in state law that we have a capital improvement plan, and so we have always had one. But previous plans didn't necessarily prioritize the projects, and they also didn't fiscally constrain the projects. And so we could have $300 million worth of projects on the CIP for that year. Well, obviously that's not what we're going to do. And so this new program started in around 2019. And that was one of the big things is let's create a realistic plan. Let's make it fiscally constrained for at least the first 4 years. And actually we do 10 years for it, just to make sure that it is a real life thing that we can do. Yeah. And if somebody could explain, how does that process work for both the school district and the community to be a part of the plan? Yep. So in the fall of every other year, so we just finished this process up, we open up project nominations to the whole community. So any resident of the borough can nominate a project, whether it's for schools or borough facilities. We go through those project nominations. I think we got about 121 or so this year. Look and make sure they meet the definition of a capital improvement. You guys already kind of touched on what that was. And then, is it feasible? Is it something we can do? Is it within our powers to do? We got a lot of nominations for things that were great ideas, but they're not borough facilities. There's nothing we can do about that. We take the projects we recommend to the Finance Committee and the Borough Assembly. Borough Assembly then approves that list. Once we have the list of approved projects, all of those projects that are approved will go to a technical scoring committee. Technical scoring committee is, I think there's 7 of us on the committee for each project.
And when does that happen? In November, December timeframe?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll technically score the projects based on a predetermined list of questions and scores. That technical score is one aspect that will help the administration rank all those projects into priority order. And so just because something necessarily, maybe it doesn't score super high technically, it might still be really important to the community. And so we can elevate that up or down as we see fit. And so, we'll take all those technical scores, all the other influences, we'll put all those projects in order. And then, like I said, make sure it's fiscally constrained. Make sure we've got the budget year to year to complete those projects for the estimates that are listed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to David and current Mayor Hopkins. I appreciate the partnership we've had over the last year in terms of some of the changes that have been made to provide, more opportunities for the school district to kind of vocalize what our needs are and to ensure that the Borough Assembly understands what the needs are. And then also great feedback from the Borough and the Borough Assembly of, in the past, the district had submitted some really large projects, and I believe there's only about $12 million a year in the KIP. Is that right?
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so in the past, a lot of times we would have some projects that were $7, $8, $12, $20 million projects, which are legitimate projects, but couldn't necessarily be funded by this project or plan very quickly. And so asking us to break those projects out into smaller chunks is something that you've worked on quite a bit this past year. So what are some of the school district projects that we submitted this year for the KIP, the Borough KIP?
So we primarily focus on fire life safety. So we did put a lot of, boiler replacements. We did put a DDC control system. So that's our HVAC control system. A lot of our fire panels are now old and obsolete, and our maintenance team does a really great job of trying to make sure that those are still functioning. And so we're really finding a hard time finding parts for it. So a lot of projects that we put towards the borough was, to hopefully fund those projects. So Lathrop Boiler is one of the big ones that we did rank as our number 1 priority for this year. And then we've got a couple of roof projects as well that we put in there. And we try to break those out into smaller pieces, but, roofs are pretty expensive. And so it was really difficult to try and break those down. We did also put that towards on the state capital as well. So I do want to point out this state capital projects, we're only limited to 10 projects per year. And so with the borough, we don't really have a limit. And so we were able to, what we were not able to put on the state capital, that's kind of where our local borough comes in, that we asked for, hey, we couldn't put all our projects into the state, but we put them towards the borough.
What are some of the projects submitted either by the community or the borough that might rise to the top during technical scoring? Would you be willing to share any of those?
Yeah. So, the technical scoring, it does focus heavily on repairing and taking care of what we already have versus new things. And so it's always it seems like it's a frustration for a lot of our other departments that have really great ideas,
Sure.
these new programs, new infrastructure, but technically they don't score well. Just that's the way it's structured. It doesn't necessarily mean things can't move to the top either by the assembly or the mayor, but technically they don't score well. So we're really looking at fixing what we have.
Similar projects like boilers, roofs.
Exactly.
Yeah, different things like that. So, that's something that we talk about a lot. People are like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we built this wing onto a school? And it's like, that would be amazing. But, we have to maintain the buildings that we currently have. And with pretty pretty limited funds, both in the borough at the state level, to do that. And I think, our entities working together do a great job with the limited resources we have to continue to ensure that we have great buildings for our students and faculty. So what does long-term planning look like with that, Kip? We have the 2-year process, but then, how do you build that out over a 10 or 20-year process in terms of kind of vocalizing the needs of what the district might be and replacements in the future?
So we have this program that's created by DEED, and it's from the DEED preventive maintenance handbook that they have. And so what we look at is the replacement and renewal cycle. So they have this formula where we have the year of the building that was built, and then all the infrastructure are listed. And then when we put in the current year, it automatically populates, this roof. It's either 19 years past its life expectancy. So what it does is it creates this visual for us to see when these replacements are supposed to happen. Like, everything has a life expectancy. And so we really rely on the replacement and renewal. And so we have that for all our schools. But there's also other factors that we need to consider. So, we've got our climate we have very harsh climate. So even if something is, listed as 15-year life expectancy, there's a lot of things that can wear and tear over the years. And so those are other factors that we have to consider. So we've got the replacement and renewal. We know, hey, we need to be replacing this in the next 15 years. But then we also have all these issues that are coming up, that are coming through our work order system. Our maintenance team are continuously going out there trying to fix the issue. And that's kind of where we kind of have to, it's kind of like a balancing act where we have to, like, okay, we know this is supposed to be replaced in 15 years, but these issues are coming up now. And so we then have to look at prioritizing that, and then we discuss it amongst our team, and then we put it through to the capital process.
Mm-hmm. And most people think of school buildings, just the 8 to 5 of students and staff being in the building and fulfilling our core mission of educating students within our community. But there's also a community aspect to our schools. Could you talk a little bit about that in terms of the capital improvement project and how some projects might, be a part of our plan because they are community driven as well?
Yeah, we have a lot of building rentals activities that happen pretty much 7 days a week. So we do have a lot of activities in the evenings for our gym usage. We do have our auditoriums that are heavily used in the evenings as well as weekends. And then we do look at those things as well, because we do have a lot of community that are using our buildings. For example, the auditorium, we know that there are some issues that we need to address there, and then we've put those into our capital budget, because it's not just the school districts that's using it. It does our community-wide, they're using our facility. So we want to make sure that those things are, air quality, everything is working really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And once a project is funded, how does that interaction go back and forth with the borough and a project to actually get completed?
Yeah, I can start that answer. Right. So once it's funded, Public Works Design and Construction Division picks that project up. They assign a project team, usually project manager, an engineer, and a project assistant. And I think one of the first things we do is meet with the school district to make sure we understand that need really well. And really, you guys are with us from that very first meeting all the way through final inspection after construction, just to make sure we're getting the design right, that we're looking at how your maintenance likes to operate, making sure that you're satisfied along the way also, and getting that input.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of input on all the design. When the design team are assigned the project, we're right from the 10% to the 35%, 65% review, we're definitely throughout that whole process.
And if it's a state-funded project, it all starts with the project agreement from the state, with the Department of Education, and that's completed with the borough. The borough signs off on it, and that pretty much breaks down all the funding that's going to go to the project, including like commissioning in the future projects will have commissioning. Art also outlines the percent for art and allocates funding to that. So the project labor, or the project agreement, is the main thing when there's state funding involved.
Yeah, excellent. And I think that connection between the borough and the district is so important. Every time I ask about capital improvement projects, I always think it's going to be a simple fix. And Jay's like, no. We've got all of these things that, we have to go through. And is like simple as like, no, the cranks that we want to use on these windows, like, we want it to be consistent with other things. And I'm like, oh man, the world that you guys live in is so different than, the educational side where I come from. And so just appreciate the expertise in this room to ensure that we have great buildings for our students and staff. And so Jay, I don't know if you're prepared to talk about it, but why do we care about having great facilities for our students here in the district?
Well, I think it does have a huge impact on education.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to a building that looks brand new, it's got nice, a lot of things that we do is behind the scenes. So like when a person walks into the building, they automatically expect there to be heating, lighting, water systems to be functioning. So these are things that are just not really noticeable, but when it's not there, people notice it. So it's really important for us to make sure that these things are existing. So when things are failing, we usually bring it to the Capitol and like, hey, we've got these failing systems, we need to fix it. And then these things, when they're failing, it might not seem like there's a direct, impact on education, but it does. Because if the room is too hot, if the room is too cold, if there's no water, if there's no adequate lighting, it does affect education. So we feel like it's really important to make sure that our buildings are, at its optimum prime, and we're providing that support, because that's what we do. That we're the support team, making sure that our buildings are functioning the way they are, so that education and learning can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of educational research out there about how important learning environments are to students, and there is a measurable impact on schools that have capital maintenance on a regular basis. Comfortable environments, good air quality, those types of things. And then there's also the added benefits of, when you're maintaining gyms or tracks or some of these extracurricular facilities, that directly improves student attendance. We know a big driver of students coming to school sometimes are those outside of school activities that they want to participate in. And those facilities don't happen without this collaboration here with the borough and the school district. Given that we live in Fairbanks, Alaska, I imagine that there's some unique challenges to capital projects here. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Obviously, I think the biggest is our construction season is just so small.
Mm-hmm.
What plays nice is it coincides with school season, so they don't overlap. But yeah, we really have to condense our projects down to just those summer months.
Well, yeah, construction projects here in Alaska are typically between break up and freeze up, and you got to get them done before it freezes up again and snow falls. But our academic calendar creates an even more rigorous construction schedule, and takes a lot of planning to feed projects into that small window that's in the academic calendar.
Usually we have to do things behind the scenes. It takes up to a year. The planning is super crucial. We have a really constrained time to get 10%, 35%, and before it goes out to bid. And as soon as school ends, it's literally the next day that contractors come in and do the construction. So if we don't do all that planning, for the off-season months, we won't even be able to do the construction when the time comes. So yeah, our time is really limited during summer season only.
It definitely is. I've been around for a couple construction seasons now, and Jay's come to me and is like, Luke, do you think we can squeeze into, the first week that teachers are back? I'm like, yes, if we can complete the project, then we can do that. But it shows you, like you said, they literally walk in the door and start putting those fences up the day after students and staff are out of the buildings, and they use every bit of time a lot of the time. So
yeah, there's definitely a lot of communication too with the principals, and just making sure that they're aware that there might be some overlap, but a lot of the times we try not to make those overlap happen. It's just due to materials. Sometimes materials are just hard to arrive in Alaska on time.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to end on a high note. This has been a great conversation. What are some of the favorite projects you all have worked on in your time in the jobs that you've been here in Fairbanks?
Go ahead.
Oh, there's been quite a few. So I would say one of my first projects that when I became ED was Barnett Elementary School, and that was really exciting. I sort of came on the phase 4, so it was all really new for me, and it was really exciting to see the design process, and by the time that they were doing construction, Barnett was unique because that was actually happening during school. And so it was really interesting to see how they navigated through that, because usually we would do our construction during that summer month, but Barnett was so unique that it was challenging, but it was very interesting for me to see how the whole process worked. And also the Tanana Middle School exterior project, that was really exciting to see. That was a huge 180 for me. It just looks incredible.
That's actually going to be the one I talked about too. Just I wasn't directly involved, at the project level, but I was born and raised in Fairbanks. I went to Tanana just to see that facelift. It's like, oh, that's so nice. It's just such a difference. And
such a difference. Yeah. It's funny. We were just walking by Tanana today. We had a school visit at LAD, and every time I drive by now, I'm just so proud of the school and how much different it looks. Yeah. It's beautiful. If you haven't seen it since it's been renovated, it is worth a drive through just to see the exterior and what the changes have made. That's one of the schools a couple years ago, I was almost embarrassed to go in because there was paint that was kind of crackling off the side. I'm like, Jay, we got to do something. And she's like, it's in the works, Luke. And so thank you for your work on that, because it does look incredible. And it's a great, the students that go there should be proud of the school that they're walking into, because it's a beautiful facility. So. Yeah,
Barnett would have to be my favorite too. I was incredibly privileged to work on that project during a few phases. The first phase in 2009, I worked there for the contractor, and then 2022, I was privileged to work there as the school district project manager.
Oh, so nice.
That was great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's great that project has a long history of support from this community. It was great to be a part of it.
Yeah. And seeing the difference between the before and the transformation after. And I think that's whenever I walk through Barnett, I feel proud that I was part of this project.
Yeah. Well, that's what's kind of fun about building things, right? You all are leaving a legacy here in Fairbanks, and someday you can point back to, your grandkids or great grandkids and be like, oh, I was a part of that project when that facility is still there, which is pretty cool. So, to wrap things up, if people are interested, maybe they haven't been engaged in the capital improvement project in the past, how can they follow what's going on in the borough and what comes next?
Yeah, sure. So our website is up and running. It does a good job of explaining it. There's actually some pretty good YouTube videos that talk about what the CIP is, how it works. Its website is fnsb.gov/CIP.
Okay.
And then you'll also find a link in there that takes you to the public tracking database for all of our projects. So any borough project, you'd be able to click on your favorite project, see what stage it's in, maybe see some progress photos, financial information, what kind of funding it is, things like that.
Great. Yeah, it's all out there for you. It is a great website. I was checking it out here recently to see where things were. So highly encourage you to go out to that website. We'll be sure to share it along with this podcast. And then just wanted to thank this team here one more time. And then a huge thanks to the Borough Assembly and the Borough Mayor for their support and supporting our schools. We've had some tremendous projects happen over the last couple of years, and looking forward to this upcoming process together. So thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this is another edition of the Alaska EdVenture podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.